Well, konnichiwa and welcome to the capital city of Japan, Tokyo. The beautiful, mad, mental, boiling hot Tokyo. It's just a mad place. I'm sat in my hotel room here with the skyline in the background. I'll edit in here the view from the other side of the hotel from the lobby. I've been here less than a day and it's just a mad place, as I say. There's just so much going on. There's so many bright lights. I think I had an idea of Tokyo in my head before I came here, of just busy streets, mad lights, bright lights everywhere, and it's exactly that and more. But it's a beautiful place. The people are lovely. The food is lovely. But you don't want to know about food. If I wanted to do a food YouTube, then maybe I should. I don't think it'd be very good because who would want to watch that really? But it was beautiful. But we are here to talk about Liverpool. Not really sure about where this video is going to go. It's going to be a bit of a freestyle. We're going to have a wander around Tokyo, but there are two promises that we will speak about Alexander Isak and we will speak about Liverpool's pursuit and, in my opinion, need for a central defender as well. £295 million spent. I reckon they need to spend a little bit more yet. As crazy as that sounds, there are still some holes in the squad. We'll talk about that later. But first, let's go and have a walk around the streets of Japan, walk around the streets of Tokyo, and see what's going on. Now, I've not turned my mic on here because it would isolate the sound. I just wanted you to hear the noise of the crickets. There's not been so much cricket noise since Ben Stokes at Headingley a few years ago. But I was going to speak about Isak or something in this park, but I'm going to have to find somewhere else where there's less cricket noise. I don't know if it's coming across on the video, but also, I've been walking for about 10 minutes and might be too hot. Right, well, the park, the green space that you could see at the start of the video is where we are now. So we started the video in one of these buildings here somewhere, and now we're in a park. It's taken me about half an hour to get here, even though it only looks about 100 metres away. And as you can probably see by my face and my forehead, it is hot, very hot. But let's talk about Alexander Isak, should we? Because, as I said, this is a vlog with some actual serious stuff thrown in there. It's a bit of fun, but also I'll be giving my opinions throughout the day. So Alexander Isak, it's 11 AM Tokyo time. So by the time this goes out, I am fully expecting it to be bang out of date. But the big question are, people are asking me, what's the latest with Isak? Is he going to join? What do I think will happen? Well, the latest is probably from the Newcastle end, is that Newcastle are ready for that first bid to come. They're fearing the first bid. They're braced for impact. It's like when the pilot shouts, brace, brace. Newcastle are in that position. They've got the seatbelts on and they are ready for that impact. And I think that impact will come at some point this week or next week. It is the last week of July, going into August this week. There's not long left of the transfer window, although there is more than enough time to get all this business done. And I do think that Liverpool will make a play at Isak now. I said that a few days ago. Do I think he will join? Well, it all depends on Newcastle, really. So I do still think it's too early to say, but I do have a sneaky feeling that this one will end up happening, or at least the bid will happen. But maybe you'll quote me on that in a week and I will look stupid, but maybe I will be bang on. It is just a guess because the only info I have is that Liverpool are preparing a bid, Newcastle are braced for a bid. I don't have any info into whether Newcastle will play ball, and I don't think anyone does at this stage. But what we can say is Liverpool like him. Alexander Isak is growing in, let's just say he's desperate for the move to Liverpool. He really, really wants it. So it all depends on Newcastle, whether they say, thank you very much, we'll take the money, or whether they continue to be, just stubborn, really. You can't really blame them for being stubborn. He's the best player, and I think if it was the other way around, let's say, for example, Real Madrid to put 150 million on the table for Salah when he was a few years younger, perhaps, we'd all be saying, go away, how dare you. But Liverpool are acting like big boys now, and that is the main thing. They are the champions of England, and they are acting like it. And I think if they get Isak, they can be champions of Europe as well. So let's go for another walk around and see what we see, because I don't want to stand in the same place for too long, because I do feel like I'm about to genuinely melt. Right, well, I've been chatting about Alexander Isak non-stop from the sort of journalist perspective, whether I think it'll happen or not, but I wanted to just flip it to one of the fans, and I'm joined by the great man Dan Clubbe from RedMen TV, great presenter, even better man. What do you think, Dan? Are you confident that Isak will happen?
Oh, sorry, I got completely sidetracked there by the wonderful introduction. You know what? Yeah, I am now. Nothing really seems too far-fetched for Liverpool this summer, does it? If you'd have asked me that a few months ago, I'd have laughed in your face, probably. It's been a dream, hasn't it, in terms of Liverpool? But I'd have said the same about Flavien Wirtz a little while ago, and he's playing for Liverpool now. So, yeah, I think it's really possible.
Yeah, and then what about defender? Do you think one of them will happen as well?
It's a necessity. That's something we cannot not do for me. Joel Quansah obviously leaving has sort of amplified that even more. Joe Gomez's recent injury has done likewise. So yeah, a defender is an absolute must before the window closes. And I do think it'll happen. I think we're being patient on game, maybe just do that at some point. But one or two, I'd say, to be honest.
Right, well, as you can see, we've both got very shiny foreheads, so should we go and find somewhere with a bit of aircon?
Let's do that.
So that there was Tokyo, it was Dan Clubbe. It was 7-Eleven, which, by the way, was brilliant. I didn't actually buy anything, but I just had a look around, and wow, there's some really cool things on show there. But I thought with this, and by the way, this is the limited edition Wimbledon water bottle, which actually got stolen from me in Hong Kong, but I managed to get it back. So yeah, long story. It's probably quite boring that I won't go into, but yeah, we spoke earlier about Alexander Isak, and I said my thoughts on that. We asked Dan for his thoughts on that. I had a lovely lunch with Dan and a few of the other gang after, some nice tempura. But now I'm back in my hotel room in the aircon, and we're going to speak about another thing that I think Liverpool need to do is sign a defender, as I mentioned earlier. Now, I actually woke up this morning to a bit of grief about this. I sort of said that obviously signing Isak is brilliant. He's like the prime signing that you can do in this window for any club. But signing a defender is just as important, in my opinion. And people were giving me a lot of stick, suggesting, "Oh, you're a mank. You're trying to get them to not sign Isak." And I was like, "Well, hold on a minute. Do you think that Richard Hughes takes any advice from what I say? Do you think Michael Edwards takes any advice from my articles? Absolutely not." And I've been on here a million times and said what a brilliant signing Isak would be. Well, the only point I was making was that a defender is very important for Liverpool. Is it more important than Isak? Is it on the same level or below? It doesn't really matter. Whatever happens is signing a defender is of the utmost importance for me, just because of the fact that Joe Gomez is injured. And even though it's only minor, he's been injured a lot. He's played 11 minutes in the last 7 months, 8 months, so that is worrying. Virgil van Dijk is not getting any younger, even though he's the best centre-back in the world. Ibrahima Konate, as we know, has a year left on his contract and is quite 50-50 whether he stays or goes. So the only point was, Isak's brilliant, but sign a defender as well. The two things don't have to be mutually exclusive, and that's what I'm saying. But I just think, obviously, Isak is the golden boy and the most exciting signing that they can make. I actually compared it a little bit to to a Christmas list when you're a kid, obviously you'd want the PlayStation 5, or I suppose in my year it would have been the PS3, and you'd want, you know, the latest, I don't know what the kids have these days, the latest gadgets or whatever they have. I've just sounded so old by asking what kids have. Whereas if you got given a pair of socks or whatever, you'd be like, but they're just as important, really. School shoes, whatever. So a defender is that asking for an air fryer for Christmas rather than a PlayStation. It's something you need rather than something that you want. But Liverpool fans should want both, and they're not mutually exclusive. They've spent £295 million this summer, but last night, as we know, it's not officially gone through yet, but it will go through in the coming days. I think, as I record, Luis Diaz is probably on his way back, leaving Tokyo. He was here for less than a day, but he's gone. £65 million ish, I think that is. It's 75 million euros. I'm not sure what that translates to. About 65, 68 sort of range. That's good business. It will be a big loss for Liverpool, I think. He scored 17 goals last season, 13 the season before. Yes, he was plagued by inconsistency. Yes, he was never the main man at Liverpool, but he was a good player to have in the squad, and he played a lot of games last season on the left or as a number 9. And he will be a loss for Liverpool, but I think I can say this without sounding too harsh. He is replaceable. He's not a golden sign, and that if you lose him, your team falls apart. But I think there will be times next season, maybe when they're toiling over games, when it's maybe 0-0 late on or whatever, where you think, Diaz might have added an extra dimension. But does that mean that Liverpool have to sign, and this sounds absolutely stupid, does that mean they have to sign yet another forward? So let's go through the forwards now that Diaz is gone. On the right-hand side, we've got Salah, and we've got, at the moment, Chiesa, but I'm not convinced that he will stay, and I'm not convinced that Slot thinks he's good enough to stay, even if he wanted to. You've got Ben Doak, who I still think they're more likely than not to cash in on, but he's a good player. I think like his stock has taken a bit of a downfall. I think that Trey Noni and Rio Angamoa, who we'll come on to in a minute, seem to be the more fashionable academy stars. But Doak is still good, and he had a decent first half of the season at Borough last season. I remember Virgil van Dijk, I think it was 2 pre-seasons ago, compared Ben Doak to like a Tasmanian devil. And he is. If he finds that confidence, then there's no reason why he can't make it at Liverpool. Yes, he played as the number 9 the other night, and he didn't really do much. There wasn't much to write home about. He wasn't bad, but there wasn't too much good to say. But it's only 45 minutes in a pre-season game, having been injured for quite a long time. So Doak, maybe not. So back to the original point, it's Salah and then a question mark, really. Or Frimpong obviously can play there, but then it's like, what if Conor Bradley's injured, for example, which, as we know, you can't rely on Conor Bradley's fitness for too long. And then the number 9s, Ekitike, Nunes. Nunes is still an uncertain in terms of his future. He's had a good pre-season. I know he's injured the other night, but let's see how he does in the next few weeks, because that is an interesting one. Do Liverpool still allow him to leave? But then obviously you could say with this sort of planning that it's Isak and Ekitike. And then on to the left, it's It's Cody Gakpo. And as it stands, it's Rio Angamoa. Now the question is, can Rio Angamoa be a mainstay in the squad, on the bench every week sort of thing, playing in the cups? Is he good enough for that? Absolutely yes. Is he old enough for that? Well, there is that old saying, if you're good enough, you're old enough. And I do believe that, but you don't want to play him too much and sort of wreck his body, as we've seen with a few youngsters, not just at Liverpool, but across football in the last few years, who have come into the team very young and the body's just falling apart. One off the top of my head, Ansu Fati. I don't know what his attitude or things like that are like, but I couldn't even tell you who he plays for now. And he was meant to be brilliant when he broke through at Barca. So can Engamoa be that backup left winger? Then the answer is maybe, but ideally I think you'd want him to have another year in the academy with some cameos here and there in the first team, in the FA Cup and the Carabao, maybe getting on the bench every now and then and getting 10 minutes here and there. So realistically, even if Isak signs, and you know, there's obviously things that you can say. Wirtz can play on the left, for example. I was going to say Elliott, but he'll probably leave. Could play on the right if he was needed. Ekitike can play on the wing. There's players that could fill in, but I still think that maybe it seems absolutely stupid. They've spent nearly 300 mil, but I still think there are at least 2 players light in the squad, and that is a centre back and it's another forward. Obviously, maybe an honourable mention to Jadon Danns, but injuries again. I think it would be best for Danns if he went out on loan. He's not on the tour. Lewis Kumas was decent on loan last season, but again, would probably expect him to leave again this summer, either on loan or on a permanent. I know there is interest in both. So there's lots of if, buts and maybes there. And hopefully this hasn't seemed like a, you know, I'm just rambling. Well, to be fair, I have rambled, but there we go. Liverpool are still players light, and that's not a massive negative. They've had a brilliant window, the best window in Europe, I would say, by far. But there's still work to do. And what's the date today? I don't know, it doesn't say on my Apple Watch, don't know why I looked at that. I'm going to guess it's the 28th of July. There's a month to go in the window, and there's lots to do. And if you want to know all about it, like and subscribe, follow me on Twitter. But for now, it is 5 p.m. in Japan, so I'm going to knock off for the day and go and get a nice cold pint of Asahi. Although I probably will end up working later anyway because of the time zone. The last few nights I have ended up tweeting stuff at midnight, or even there was a 2:30 a.m. that I filed the other night. So there we go. But you'll just be waking up in the UK by the time I post this. But have a good day all. It's Monday. Have a good week. There'll be videos from me until this tour is over. Have a good one.